watching my labor and delivery video. And, well, not delivery, we're actually not allowed to get any footage of that, but that's okay. That's not something I would post on YouTube anyway. But it's 6:45 in the morning on September 3rd. Yep, that's right, I went late. So, I guess this week, I don't even know, like, hopefully I'm going today and not tomorrow or the next day or whatever. But if everything goes well and I have her today, you'll see that I didn't really make anything for week 40 because I've been in pain. Starting on September 1st, I started having contractions that basically felt like I was going to start a period, and at first they were kind of like mild if I were to compare them to what I'm going through now. And it's just like ridiculous that I thought that, you know, when I went to the hospital and had those Braxton Hicks, the false labor, that I thought that was it, you know, like, not even close. So, they progressively got worse. At first, I was having contractions 4 in an hour, but then I started to stall, and it was only like 2 to 3 in an hour, and so that got really annoying. But then it kicked back up to 4 in an hour again, and I called labor and delivery, and they basically said, yeah, don't come in unless you're having contractions that are 5 minutes apart, and that they are going on for 2 hours. And so I started regularly contracting at 2:09 on the 2nd, which was yesterday, and have not stopped. The contractions have varied from 5 in an hour to 10 in an hour. And now I'm at the point where, like, it's just, I couldn't get any sleep, and I need to go to the hospital. They need to check me. If they don't, my OB appointment is in a couple hours anyway, and it's right around the same place. So we'll be going there if they decide not to check me. But my contractions have been for like the last hour or so, maybe a little bit more. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 4 minutes. And there's another one. Holy shit. What time is it? Oh God. 6:46. 6:46. And 6:46. So, alright. So anyway, that's that. I'll get back to you soon. So, as you can see, I made footage on the way to the hospital. We ended up staying, and it was so hectic that I didn't really get a chance to vlog anything. We took some pictures. I'm just like so elated that Honesty is here, and she's healthy, and I'm doing well myself. Laboring and delivering is an experience that really nothing I feel can top. And, well, here's my story. As you know, if you've been watching my vlogs, my due date was August 30th. Well, I surpassed that date, and the days just kept going by, 31 days in August, and then September 1st, 2nd, and I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't feel like it's ever going to happen. And as you know, my OB wanted to induce me if I didn't hit my due date, and so she was going to do that today. I ended up going before that. So we've been home since September 5th, and home life with Honesty has been absolutely amazing. Now, on September 1st, I started having insane contractions. And I thought Braxton Hicks were bad when I went in for that false labor. Wow, nothing like that, as I said. The contractions weren't perfectly frequent when I first started contracting, but I was dilating quite a bit. From what I can tell, I went from 1 centimeter to 3 to 4 centimeters within just a couple of days, and that's pretty crazy because I knew it was coming, but I didn't know when. You don't know when, but I contracted for pretty much 3 days straight. That was fun. September 1st, I had some really bad contractions that knocked me off my socks, or at least I thought. That wasn't the worst of them. Oh no, no, no. Not even close. So, here it is, September 1st, and I start contracting at 11 in the morning, and I'm like, whoa, period pains much. It seriously felt like I was going to start a period, and I'm like, this is weird. This shouldn't be happening. And so I look it up, and it says that it's actually normal to feel like you're having period cramps when you're going into labor. And so I was like, huh, that's weird. But yet it says to be in early labor, you have to be, I can't even remember anymore, but you have to be a certain amount contracted, dilated, so on and so forth. And I was dilated to 3 or 4 centimeters, so it was obviously in early labor. But anyway, so on September 2nd, things got more regular. Starting around 12:20 in the morning, I would have contractions from anywhere between 8 and 10 minutes later. I would start another one, 11 minutes later. It would be pretty consistent between those numbers, sometimes lower, sometimes higher, but rare. And then things got really, really strong the morning of September 3rd, when my contractions were pretty much going around 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 sometimes. But then they just started going less. Like, not the time frame, but that's how long from the beginning of one contraction to the next. Don't mind me, I'm extremely tired right now. So I had to find the time to get this video in because you'll see once I get into the whole story about after what happened and after my delivery and such. My contractions started to get extremely irregular. My water broke at 11:15 in the evening on September 2nd. All of a sudden I was just sitting here on the couch in pain from contractions, and then I heard a pop and felt it, and I was like, well, that's weird. And then I went, I wanted to feel what I had let out of my body, so I smelt my fingers, and yes, they were clean, and I cleaned them after, but I smelt my fingers to see, because I heard the amniotic fluid smells like a sweet scent, and well, so I didn't get that because we had been walking a bunch during that day, trying to get things going with regards to the contractions and the labor. So anyway, I checked, so I was all sweaty, couldn't tell because we had been walking and stuff like that. So anyway, I went into the shower, and the test that I saw to figure it out is to take a shower, put on a pad, clean pad, and see what comes out on it after a half hour, or see if there's a smell to it, and go from there. And so there was like nothing after that, but before I even put on a pad, I went to go shower, like I said. And in the shower, all of a sudden, a bunch of mucus was like all over my legs. And if you think this is TMI, you obviously haven't been watching my other pregnancy vlog videos because I don't leave any detail out. Alright, so I just fell asleep making the video. That's hilarious. I'm definitely overtired. And anyway, so I basically, during early labor, which was from 2:09 p.m., waking up on the couch with an insanely painful contraction on September 2nd at 2:09 p.m. And then the contractions were like constant. They may not have been regular. Man, I can tell you, they certainly were pretty crazy. Early labor for me was like a 2 or 3 day ordeal. And then active labor started at 9 o'clock. And then, because I was past 3 or 4 centimeters, I was up to 5 or 6 centimeters. And that was awesome. And then I kind of took a stall. So I was in active labor from 9 until 4:30. Honestly, I could have totally kept going with the contractions, depending on how bad they got and how close together, I guess. But I mean, even when my contractions were getting close together at one point, I could endure it. And that really surprised me because I can't handle pain very well at all. And so it was really weird for me. So I was in active labor for about 8 hours, and Honesty Marie Phillips was born at 4:35 p.m. and she weighed 8 pounds 4 ounces. She was 20 inches and a total angel. When she got put on my chest, nothing can describe that moment. The feeling I got, maternal instinct that just took over, the beautiful serenity of holding my gorgeous little girl in my arms with a full head of brown hair, just like her dad when he was born. And oh my gosh, just looking at her and while she was crying, and I was so happy. So we could have taken video in the delivery room once she was on my chest, but I didn't care about getting that stuff. And well, my husband got some pictures, and that's all that matters. But all I cared about was her and my husband and my mom, who was in the room with me as well. It was such an amazing moment. And so, yeah, my delivery was only 35 minutes long, and it would have been actually 25 minutes long, but what happened was the nurse that was delivering Honesty, she doesn't completely do the delivery, she just crowns the baby. When she was delivering her, she had them put my legs wider apart and basically said, push like you're gonna take a poop. And so I'm like, okay, but I don't normally lie down while taking a shit, for one, and two, I don't normally spread my legs when I'm sitting on the toilet. And they all start kind of laughing, and they're like, okay, you're having another contraction, push, 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 push. And what would happen is I would push her out, but then push her back in because my legs were too far apart. And she realized that that was what was actually probably not working for me. She told us to bring the legs in a little closer. So anyway, as we did that, it was easy peasy from there. I was able to push her out, and before you knew it, she was crowning, and the nurse was like, oh my gosh, you could braid that hair. And then yeah, the doctor came in and he's like, push, 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 and I did, push, 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 did, and boom, she was out and on my chest, and oh my goodness, such an elated feeling. At this point I hadn't slept since the day before at 2:09 p.m. when I started having those contractions and got woken up from the pain of them. Matt said he didn't want to see the delivery at all, and then eventually he just decided to look because he knew that was something he may never see again. So he figured, why not? And he was so amazed at how the human body works, because when Honesty came out, I mean, when babies come out, their skull is in 5 pieces, and they have to fuse together within, I think, the first 4 years of life. It's a slow process, but a lot of them close up during the earlier stages. So anyway, during the earlier stages. So anyway, when she came out, he said her head was actually compressed and just tiny. This tiny little head. And then it kind of expanded once it came out. And then her shoulders came out and she just slid right out, he said. And it was funny because they asked me if I wanted a mirror to see her coming out, and I was like, as much as I'd love to see her coming out, I don't want to see that happening to my lady bits. And so I opted a no for that one. So I ended up getting the epidural, and thank goodness, because they had convinced me to get Pitocin, and more times than not, many people who I've talked to who get Pitocin end up having a cesarean section. Not everyone, but many. And so I was like, my intelligence kind of kicked in here and said, why is it that Pitocin would do that? Sure, Pitocin hurries things along, as they say, but not in everyone, especially if it causes more stress to the mother than having not taken it. If you're stressed out, it won't matter. Your whole body's going to be tight, everything, it's going to be tense. So, to me, it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to do Pitocin first. And that's what they had suggested. Oh, we'll give you some Pitocin, you can walk around, get the contractions going. Hopefully, because my labor stalled in the active labor process and wouldn't go any higher than 5 or 6. And so they're like, okay, here's the deal. What you hear about Pitocin isn't as bad as everyone makes it sound. It actually is a natural chemical that your body produces called oxytocin. However, of course, it's in medical form. And so basically the reason why they wanted to hurry the labor along is because my water had broken the night before. It had already been quite a few hours, and they didn't want Honesty to end up with an infection or something like that. And so I was like, you're probably right. But I was like, here's the deal. You're going to freeze me first, 1, and then you're going to give me Pitocin. Because at that point, I know that, 1, the epidural is going to cover me, and I'm not going to feel the extra pain of those contractions. And so I was like, do it that way, please. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good. After that, everything progressed really well. And before I knew it, little Honesty was here. And so that is my labor and delivery story. And then there was the maternity ward story. As informative and accommodating, somewhat, it was also a very huge frustration and a source of depression for me during my stay. We only stayed 2 days. Honesty was born on September 3rd. He had to stay until September 5th. And the thing is that the nurses don't let up. If you don't know what you're doing when it comes to breastfeeding, and that and all that, they will hound you and say, okay, well, let's pump, let's do this, let's try this, let's try this. I'm talking 10 different nurses touching my boobs throughout the whole time I was there. And I'm talking like, not at the same time, but it didn't feel right to me. It was very rare that a couple of nurses would agree on something, so we had all these different perspectives and opinions on how to do breastfeeding, on how to, anything that had to do with the baby, you know. I couldn't handle it, and at one point, actually twice during our stay, during the 2 days, I actually flipped out, like not at the nurses, but I just started bawling at one point, and I was like, I can't do this breastfeeding. It's like, it's too much pressure, and they keep putting all this pressure on me when I have pain. Every single time Honesty tries to latch on. And like, she wasn't doing it properly, and we couldn't get her to do it properly most of the time. If we were lucky, she would. And it was amazing when it would happen, and then there would be no pain, but it was rare. And my baby wasn't getting enough food, so I'm getting pissed because they're like, no, 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 don't try formula, let's pump, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, no. My doctor, who is my child's doctor, came in and said that she needed to supplement with some formula because she wasn't getting enough food, and her jaundice levels were going up. And that's not good. Sure, it's normal for every newborn, or almost every newborn, to have jaundice, but not as much as Honesty was starting to get. And it was climbing pretty fast. Like, they said something about if she hit 250, she would need to be under lamps and have to stay in the hospital under observation. But that also stressed me out. But I'm like, yet here you guys are telling us not to do formula. So eventually I had to realize those nurses work for me, not the other way around. So I had to say, look, my doctor said that he wanted her to have a bottle. I've sat here for an hour and a half trying to nurse my daughter, and nothing is happening. So please, can we have some formula? So they went and got us some formula, thankfully. And oh my gosh, what a difference. She drank it, well, of course, you know, but there's no nipple confusion. Like, I've been able to go, for the most part, between breastfeeding with a nipple shield, pumping, and formula feeding. And she doesn't seem to waver too much. Once in a while, she won't take the breast. It's usually because she's really tired, or she's just being lazy, and it's funny and cute. I've been doing a combination of breastfeeding and formula feeding, and that's what I'm going to stick to. Oh my gosh, my breasts engorged yesterday, extremely large, and they were extremely painful. And oh my god, I'm so glad we went and bought a pump. We were going to buy the Ameda or a Medela, but we decided that if I decide to stop breastfeeding at any point in time, we can't return it, we can't, you know, we might be able to sell it if we're lucky after sterilizing it. But we decided we'd go with a less expensive one with huge reviews. One of my friends has one. She got one because she was pregnant and somebody had suggested it to her. And so we got one. We got one called a My Pump, or a Me Pump, MI Pump, whatever it is. And it's a dual pump. And it works pretty well. Like, I was able to get some colostrum out and give that to my daughter, you know, when she wasn't necessarily latching on. And everything since we've been home has been amazing, but when we were in that hospital and there was all that pressure, especially from the lactation consultant, like, she was very elitist. I don't take to elitist attitudes. If you're going to tell me what to do with my daughter, when I know what's best and I know that yes, breastfeeding is amazing and it's the best thing you can do for your child. But when your child can't latch on because she's tongue-tied and she's got like issues under her tongue and at her upper lip, so that means she's got a really tight lip and can't open very much, but we got them to snip some under her tongue so that she would be able to suck easier, and later on in life it'll help her with speech. She might have had some speech issues. Maybe. That's not 100%. Matt also was tongue-tied when he was born, and he never had any speech issues. I lost 6 pounds. Don't ask. I had an 8-pound baby, and I got rid of placenta and a bunch of fluid and a bunch of blood. So don't ask why I didn't lose like 12, 13 pounds. But I'll tell you this, my feet are extremely swollen. My legs are swollen. And apparently when we went for a 48-hour appointment, once you get discharged, you have to go in and they check you out. My uterus is, it's definitely going back down to size, and it's very firm, and so everything seems to be healing well there. Oh yeah, also, I had a 1st-degree laceration, very minimal, 4 stitches total, and the doctor was actually really impressed. The doctor said, "Are you sure you haven't, this is your first, you haven't had any other children?" He said, "You're very elastic, and you actually were able to deliver without very much going on to your body." I'm like, "No, never had any. I just have, apparently I have a perfect pelvis and great hips for birthing, so it just worked very well." It's a really hot day, and you'll notice my little princess is only in her diaper. That's because it's extremely hot in our apartment building, and I'm about to change her into something so she can go to bed. But let's see Honesty Marie Phillips. Alright. She's getting hungry, I think. There's my pretty little baby, Honesty Marie Phillips. She's just 5 days old, and she's just the cutest little thing. Well, almost 5 days old, not quite yet. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening, wherever you are, and a great week ahead. Namaste.
Till the skies bright with dawn, when you wake with a yawn, lullaby and good night, you are mine.